Okay, so I'm driving right now, and I was thinking about weight loss, dieting, and how to get around cravings, right? Cravings, especially at night, is extremely common for someone looking to lose weight or to really improve body composition. It sometimes can occur later on. So if you're making a big transformation and you're trying to lose 50 plus pounds, that's not going to be for a while. But for somebody who's already pretty lean, sometimes to be in a significant deficit, say you're 190 and you're trying to lose 2 pounds a week, you've actually, sometimes on your low days, like I like to think the days where I'm not training, you almost feel that hunger, but you still have high carbs. So you're still your body's still working. And I think that's the difference of being in a deficit being in a deficit on a high carb diet versus being in a deficit on a standard American diet, maybe a moderate fat, moderate protein, or a higher fat, moderate protein, lower carb. I don't think is really helpful for fat loss. So, and it's the symptoms of doing it that way are not really as sustainable. So I think when you're eating higher carbs, you pull back polyunsaturated fats, and now you can improve your metabolism. Okay, you can eat more food. So I think it's a clear choice into why you would want to do that. And when I'm talking about like diet fatigue, right, a lot of times people in the evening don't incorporate what they actually enjoy. So then they have this built up sensation of, I don't know, like inner conflict because they want something. Their intuition's like, oh, I want something sweet and good, but then they don't want to have it. Or maybe they'll make the fake one. They'll make like these protein ice creams and shit like that, which is good, but like, what if you can just be in a deficit and have real ice cream every night? Like, whatever, 4 to 7 nights a week you're having it. That's pretty cool. Like, then you're like, okay, you don't really have it built up. You don't have it on a pedestal. You don't have ice cream on this crazy pedestal. Like, oh, I have it only once a month, but when I have it, I overeat it. And then then you have it more than once a month, once a week, or a couple times. But instead of having multiple food groups like that, if you all incorporate them in your diet daily and do it in a way where you can still be healthy and lose weight via high carb, no PUFA, moderate protein, a lot of calcium, a lot of potassium, a lot of magnesium, obviously the B vitamins, D, K, all those things. When you incorporate them, and I think through your diet, we want to think probably lower grains, high carbohydrate, but the carbohydrates are typically going to be fruits, fruit juices, raw honey, maple syrup, even white sugar can be used for sure. For fruits, you want, I think a lot of times, no skin is really helpful. No skin is going to help for digestion. A lot of times I see people who are struggling with a deficit, and one of my core beliefs of coaching a lot of people is probably 40 to 50% of the U.S. population, or worldwide, but at least the U.S., is hypothyroid, meaning they have low thyroid function. So for that half the population, fat loss is going to be harder. So clearly, I need to incorporate that into how I coach. So I need to have a overall nutrition plan for people that will improve their thyroid on the assumption that it's low. And if it's not low, of course, I can tell that within like probably 5 to 7 days by just tracking heart rate, temperature. But when I can kind of get some basic references, then I'm like, okay, I know what we're working with. If you're rocking 97.8, 97.9, 97.7, 98 plus, you're doing good. Like I think in the heart rates, a lot of these athletes at least above 60, I'd like above 70. Like, then your body's in a good state where you can actually lose fat. But if those things are low, that's very difficult. So being aware that if your temperature is low, 97.1, 96.9, then even lower, 96.5, even lower, that's a low temperature, and that's definitely indicative of low thyroid function. So understanding the foods that are going to help that and inherently improve fat loss, because thyroid is extremely important in fat loss. It's going to raises your basal metabolic rate, right? Your body's using glucose better, okay? And with that oxidation, you get carbon dioxide throughout your body that reduces lactic acid. So it's very, very beneficial for your thyroid to work well. It works well by uncoupling fat. So then when you're in a fat loss phase, or definitely in a deficit, vitamin E can be helpful in that regard, because polyunsaturated fats, they get stored in your bloodstream, they get stored in your tissue for 4 years, and then when they oxidize, they will cause a lot of issues systemically, because they're binding to your thyroid, causing issues. There's these deiodinase enzymes, and there's 3 of them. The enzymes will get, sorry, I'm just taking a turn here. But the enzymes, sometimes the ability for them to bind to the proper areas and receptors will get blunted. And when that happens, thyroid the temperature reduces, and the symptoms of hypothyroidism, struggle with fat loss, reduced outer third of the eyebrow, cold hands, cold feet, all of those things are really important. So acknowledging that, once again, a large part of the population probably has these issues, it's important to understand that if you're backing up here, if your symptoms align with some of those things I'm talking about. Trying to open my damn coffee. There we go. But either way, I think this thing's still on. Yeah. But either way, some helpful things to keep in mind. I was just thinking when I was driving. But main takeaways here: when you're putting food on a pedestal, okay, it's just going to be much more difficult for you to abstain from those foods if you're in a deficit, because you're inherently in a deficit, maybe a little bit more hungry, or you at least have some more room. You're not overeating. So it's like, oh, I technically could eat more. Well, it's like, motherfucker, you don't need to eat more. Like, just because you could eat more doesn't mean you need to eat more. I think that's a key concept. Like, I just started a deficit myself personally. So I started, I don't know, 10 days ago. I was driving food really high, being in a bulk, being basically in like a mini bulk after improving thyroid function. So for me, I had thyroid issues. Okay, temperature was like 27 when I was waking up to 30 most days, and an insane amount of the symptoms. Doing everything I could, even with food, but it just wasn't working. So once I got on thyroid medicine that I actually take, that I'm prescribed, then from there, I feel a lot better. And fat loss you would think would be easier. And the reason is because when I started taking thyroid hormone, like last year, okay, I did a cut last year that it was about 245 last year to probably 225. So that was like my cut, starting to get solidly lean and felt really good, but then just thyroid issues persisted, and I was busy with work and kind of started a business of coaching people, so I was more focused on that. So I stayed in good solid shape, about like 230 until like probably November, December. And then when I got on thyroid, I started escalating dose from November until now, and really October, November. But I started really slow, so like I built my way up. But once I got to the dose I'm maintaining at, from there, it was like, okay, I have to eat a lot more food, because I was somebody who actually sometimes when you take thyroid, it actually improves your metabolism so much that you then get an increase sometimes in cortisol and adrenaline, because you're really your metabolic rate increases so much that you run out of liver glycogen, and when that happens, then you increase cortisol and stress hormones, because that's why inherently fasting is not super helpful if it increases that secretion of cortisol in the adrenals due to the low glucose in the liver. So you gotta have sugar, which is important. Okay, I'm eating now. And some pineapple. Strawberry. Yeah, but I go Wegmans and shop. So some things, if you're going grocery shopping, some things that I would have, right? Some like weekly essentials, right? These are the S tier. I was just making a food list actually for some clients about like, okay, so I'll help people as a coach. What I'll do to help people is, okay, look, you like these foods, right? Maybe you're somebody who's in solid shape, you understand like how to eat healthy food, but you're trying to fucking dial in. Well, that's cool. That's what I do. Like, that's personally what I do. So for people losing 60, 70 pounds, yeah, I think it's really helpful to have a meal plan. You can do just macro tracking, but I think having a meal plan, especially when you're like transforming how you do it, while you're maybe living a busy life, or do you just want it? You're used to playing football, so this is like a new challenge. This is like you're almost being competitive within just, you're learning it, you're doing it, repetitions. There's plenty of, what I do too is I'll give somebody a food, right? I'll give somebody a food, but then it is categorized, so everything has a category, and within that category there's available substitutions. So I might say it's really, I put all my S tier stuff on this list for grocery shopping is foods I give my clients. It's fucking S tier and A tier, and I'll usually put S tier on the meals, and then A tier is probably in a substitution chart. So like some B tier, like I'm trying to think of B tier freaking food item here. It's kind of like cereal, just not on there. It doesn't exist. You're not even going to see granola. Nope. It's just like those aren't typically on the list. Granola once in a while has been on people's, but a lot of times it just has PUFAs in it, okay? And that's not really super beneficial. The oats are pretty hard to digest. Oat brand's different. I think that's helpful. What else? Like typically cookies and stuff today, I wouldn't recommend them. I have in here, I was at a family party and we got cookies and stuff. So cookies are great. Apple fritter, nothing wrong with these things, nothing wrong with these things. But especially if you're in a fat loss phase, having PUFAs, right, it's just not going to be beneficial. Of course, the processed food also has like bleached flour and things that are just, a lot of these baking agents that people cook with, or that rather large corporations cook with, that are supposed to be cheaper, but are they're harmful for people. So to eat these foods, it's like, yeah, they're cool. I could eat them and try to like say I'm relieving stress with food, but like I'm eating clearly something that's not good for me. So, and I don't believe in, I think the people who create the food, they probably, it doesn't seem like they have great intentions for us. So once again, this is just my theory here, but I would say that's something to consider as well. Is like, actually, when you improve your health and you start to that's actually, and I always say, I think like the best way to fight back when you're kind of, if you're based, or if you're becoming kind of, you're awakening to some things, like personal excellence is the best form of rebellion to begin. And when you see other people who are just chasing personal excellence and trying to improve their life, and many times health can be a gateway to that, right? You realize, okay, if I change something, things improve. What if I change something else? Things will improve in life. Or what if I change something else? Things will improve. So similar to, weight room or sports, sometimes for people who are overweight, weight loss can be like the freaking ticket, because now you're even more disciplined. Like you just leveled up. So it's a really cool thing to kind of consider as well for weight loss. But once again, when you're surrounded with food, sometimes I'll have a bunch of vitamin E. I'll just spam vitamin E. I did that last weekend. I was traveling, going to New Jersey, right, going out with friends. I'm just before I start my cut. After I met with my health coach, I was like, Kate Deering, she's been super helpful in the process the past few months, and been super helpful. But I was like, all right, I think I'm ready to just start reducing weight, get down. Like I was 253 when I started. I'm not nearly that. I typically last year walked around like 228 to 230, 228 to 232. So I was never. This is like fuck. I was just normal size. I'm like, damn, 253. But eating over 6,000 to 8,000 calories. I don't even think I mentioned that, but that's a lot of food to eat. Hell of a lot of food. So I have to buy less. Actually, I get to buy less at Wegmans. So that's actually, I'm actually kind of hyped for that. So these are all from some pros of the deficit, right? Some things about the deficit you should understand when entering is, okay, I'm eating less than I technically could, right? I'm not gonna stuff my face, okay? Yes, you might have been somebody who can do that. I've totally been that person, but it's just not, if you're trying to improve health, right? If you're trying to fight back against the system, whatever you're trying to do in life, whatever your motivation is, and just improve attractiveness, get girls, whatever it is, like, understanding these are some basics to weight loss. Motherfucker, like, you're good, yes, you technically could eat more. A lot of people I help, when you eat true simple carbohydrates through fruit and other very filling foods that are also super nutrient dense, and have it food throughout the day, 5 to 6 meals, like you can do it. High steps, but not a lot of not high stress activity. You know, weight lift 4 to 5 times a week, or no, 3 to 4 times a week. I'm sorry, typically 3 to 4. You know, for like 45 minutes to an hour, probably close to an hour. I like doing high volume at the end of workouts, so sometimes those will take a while for people who have too long of rest periods. So like I got a buddy, Dennis, this freaking guy. Sometimes he'll just, I swear, he was always like, oh, you walked out I was 30 seconds, whatever, I just finished my set. I'm like, no, like you got to go. I think, of course, hit like probably, depending on how you feel, 1 to 3, probably 2 to 4 good compound exercises to start your workout. So say you're doing an upper lower split. I think, you know, I don't talk about training philosophy a lot, but this is good to talk about. Nutrition, I learned a decent amount from like Stan Efferding, and then also like got his book, read a lot of what he did, watched a lot of his seminars and stuff, and then saw Justin Harris, so learned from him, read a lot of his podcasts, ebooks, articles, all that stuff. Troponin Nutrition, watched a lot of him, watched a lot of bodybuilders, Tuat Abiad, would watch like Chris Bumstead, all these guys, John Meadows, and then like Mark Bell. So learned a lot from these people. If they had programs or stuff, probably bought them and learned from them. Worked with the guy Paul Barnett, who is pretty popular on YouTube in the bodybuilding space, so kind of learn more about carb cycling. Paul worked with Justin Harris, so that was kind of my introduction to that. I guess just nuance, right? A lot of people think about calorie deficit and intermittent fasting, or just calorie counting, and my argument is it's deeper than that, right? It's deeper than just calorie counting. If you have calories that slow your metabolism versus calories that improve your metabolism, well, theoretically, calories in versus calories out, mine's different than yours, so everyone's different, right? But if you improve yours through these strategies, I mean, it's going to be super helpful for you. And when you increase your calories, you'll notice that you have more energy. You have almost more, I think that's life force. I was reading I think it's a book by, I think it's David Hawkins, like this like mindset. It's an interesting book. Either way, super good. But what he's talking about, you know, I forgot what I was freaking saying. But either way, the carbohydrates, you know, learn from Paul Barnett, Justin Harris, these guys, obviously bodybuilders. Watching Arnold Schwarzenegger, you know, I watched a lot of the bodybuilders pumping iron, read his books. I've got his massive like 800-page encyclopedia, so it's cool doing. That's been my challenge the past few weeks with Dennis. I'll be training with him typically, and what we'll do is I'll be like, all right, we're gonna just do it. Well, I don't tell him, but I just do whatever I think in my head for the workouts typically, and it follows. And then that's how I started programming for people, honestly. I was just like, all right, these are the workouts I did. I combined from all these bodybuilders, these powerlifters, did a little strongman. I obviously played football. I played football in college for 6 years, so I learned from 3, 4, 5 different strength coaches, I think 4. So I remember everything we did. I have a lot of those programs saved and things like that too. So wrote down a lot of my workouts for a long time, and then kind of combined all those strategies to be like, okay, if I still want to have fun in the weight room, and I want to get a pump, and I'm losing weight, what training should I do? Like, you know, you might get bored as hell just doing bodybuilding, but like if you have like cool challenging things, you know, mixed in with like still good compound movements, and they're kind of quick paced, I think that helps. I don't know, I think it's important to enjoy training. So switching up the stimulus, right? A lot of people I help, if they're coming from a 3 to 5 rep range, like for 6+ years from high school to college, right? You're probably sick and tired of lifting that rep range, and that's fine. You can rep range 6 to 10, 8 to 10 for compounds, even higher if needed, and then, you know, 10 to 15, or sometimes lower, depending on who it is, you know. Early on, I think you can push the weights a lot more. So if you're kind of a newer lifter, I think you can continue to try to ascend your poundages on on all the lifts, right? And then eventually you hit a kind of a point of like, okay, there's only, you're close to the ceiling here, you know, at least as a natural, right? You get close to the ceiling, You're like, all right, I'm right here. All right, I'm going to increase bench by hopefully, whatever, 15 pounds in 3 months or something like that. But initially, you're just boom, 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 loading it up. So eventually you kind of hit that point, and then you got to stay there, be healthy. And that's kind of like the natural limit. You know, you eventually get there, but that's not within, typically for most people, it needs at least 5 years. I mean, initially in my head, I was thinking 7+. So you need a lot of time lifting. So many people lift 1 to 2 years and then hop on gear. I mean, if you're going to do actually bodybuilding and you're going to compete as a professional bodybuilder or attempt to be one, then yes, it's completely different. So I guess I don't help in that context with people because I've never done it, so I wouldn't really know. I wouldn't really know how to do it, you know. So I help with nutrition, supplements, and then I kind of will advise on thyroid hormone, or like how to approach their doctor and ask for things, you know. I think that's, from what I've seen, that's really important. If you have good daily habits, and if you sleep 7-8 hours a night, and you're not having microplastics in your diet, you're having filtered water, if you're not having polyester on you consistently, you know, if you're getting, you know, morning wood, if you're having, you know, probably hopefully oysters, shellfish, things like that for sperm quality, and, you know, keep LSH, you know, FSH, LH, and FSH. Yeah, freaking have a bite. Been talking a while in this dang video. See, typically when I'm talking to people on Zoom, so this will help people, you know, depending on who I'm making a website right now, so I can just explain it. It'll be so much easier. But yeah, I'll help people depending on if they want to just do, you know, some people will be online clients who do like weekly check-ins with them, and then throughout the week we'll message, but typically weekly check-ins, if that's one thing. So every week somebody will be like, all right, you know, I have a Google form, fill out like 25 questions. I'll read through it, answer it, make any adjustments, update them on the adjustments, go forward, check in the next week, and then maybe correspond a little bit throughout the week. And it's fun. It's fun to see the progress, obviously. So it's cool. I like a lot of detail, you know. Realistically, it'd be great to have just everyone on Zoom. I prefer talking to people, but time-wise, with the amount of adjustments and different things I do on the back end for training or nutrition, and trying to research as well, that's online. But obviously I like Zoom as a coach personally. I like being actually a coach. I like understanding somebody, and it depends on the person, but I think it's helpful to understand. If you're really changing your life and you have a lot of questions, it's helpful to actually talk to the person. So I like doing that. Once again, I have a coach, so talking to them is helpful. But they'll do like either once a month, twice a month, or weekly. And I'm kind of, so, but I'll make that on the website, but that'll be a lot easier. Either way, if y'all are still watching, appreciate ya. Going grocery shopping, S-tier items only. Canned oysters, eggs, 1% milk, Thai Greek yogurt, 0%. Good culture, low-fat cottage cheese, Parmesan cheese. I think I should probably get some beets, pineapple, maybe some type of melon, cantaloupe, watermelon, no, I don't need maple syrup, but typically I'd get maple syrup, but I don't need it. Orange juice, grape juice. We have eggs, but I might get some either at the farm or here, pasture raised, organic, ideally low PUFA, not corn and soy fed, you know, not grain fed, which is important for your egg quality, right? You don't want some bullshit eggs, and bullshit eggs would mean eggs that aren't given, you know, the proper quality food. So, or I suppose the chickens. So, right, if the chickens are getting like some bullshit food, it goes in their body, and then they create an egg, and then that egg is made up of what that chicken ate. And if that chicken ate foods that aren't good, the foods that aren't good end up in that yolk, typically in the yolk, from my understanding of researching it or reading about it, right? Like that's the cool thing. I'm having a bunch of fruit right now. It's like a meal. So yeah, I'm probably under 2,000 calories right now, which is low for me. Like I was saying, I was eating 6,000 to 8,000 calories a day when I was probably before I started to cut. So today I was 243. Last week I was 253. Yeah, so I'm down 10 pounds in like a week, and a lot of that's just I was pushing food really high. I was eating for January and February. I was just eating a shit ton. I basically bulked up like a little extra because I was increasing thyroid dose and wanted to make sure adrenaline, cortisol was low, and driving it up that high because my thyroid function was so low. Like I was so cold and felt so terrible. I was getting like, you know, really bad chest pains, heartish, like getting all these heart scans, and then realized once I did ultrasound, my thyroid was just calcified. I'm trying to get the sun right now in the freaking chest, but it was calcified, and you know, it wasn't working the right way. It had like tumors on it and stuff, benign tumors on it. So it's like, okay, well, after feeling that bad for so long, and this is why I sympathize with people with thyroid issues, and this is also why I learned so much about it. So you're really like, Jack, you're not a doctor, how do you fucking know what you're talking about? Well, I read about it. That's all I do is read about it, okay? So, and try to learn more about it. Typically I try to allot a few hours per day to just consistently learn. So I don't only, you know, I prefer learning over anything else. Like business stuff, like when you create a business, like I have an LLC, right? And when you create a business, like you don't realize all, like, I don't know, there's stuff you gotta do, you know? And I'm just, I'd rather just research. I'd rather just read. I was just reading Hair Like a Fox by Danny Roddy. I just finished that. I think I finished like the past week 3 books, and then I reached about a bunch of articles online. I've been just getting after it, reading. It's been fun. Like I've really been enjoying it. Been trying out some nootropics, which has been fun too. So like on a cut, kind of just dialed in. I'm eating way less. Like think about it. I'm eating 4,000 calories on a training day, and I've got to increase carbs a little bit. I think, carbs are high. It's just I was eating so much. Like my carbs are still over 600 per day in a cut, but before I was eating, you know, 900 to probably over 1,000 for January and February. So I basically spent 2 months in a hyper, you know, freaking anabolic stage. I definitely put on muscle, and that's the cool, especially in February because I started training again. So from October to January, October to mid-January, I didn't really lift at all. And from October to mid-January, I lifted 2-3 times a week. No, October to mid-December. Yeah, something like that. Either way, somewhere in January, I took a full 2 or 3 weeks off. And before that, I only lifted with barbells 135, dumbbells probably under like 50s. So I didn't lift heavy at all. I didn't have the energy. I didn't feel good enough. But once I increased my dose, then I could start, after taking, you know, extended reduction in weight and then realizing, okay, full break. And then when I came back, a few weeks of chill, and then now a few weeks of hitting it with high thyroid, like basically like, you know, good amount of each T3 and T4. So when you bring that up really high, that's personally dependent, you know, on what you do, but that's been helpful. And then I take antibiotic as well. I started that, I don't know how long ago, but that's pretty helpful. Had a lot of stomach issues, and that's something I talk so much. Most clients I talk to, right? Digestion. It's such an important thing for fat loss and for most people in general. And I sympathize, once again, a lot of these issues that I'm talking about, that I consistently talk about for health, are things I've went through. So those are just the ones that I happen to be interested in. There's so many health issues, right? And I'm just interested in one because my health was impacted, and then I realized how systemic it was, which is thyroid, right? I didn't realize. But then when I thought of everything and how I felt and certain things that just felt difficult with energy or whatever it may be, then it made sense. Because I was eating, when I was coaching at Wagner, I was eating freaking, you know, during the week at 220, probably 1,800, no, probably 2,000 calories a day. And I was getting lean, but it wasn't, like, I was still a little bloated and stuff. So the antibiotics help because when you have low thyroid function, low heart rate, okay, low temperature, now that indicates that you have a slower metabolism. And from there, take my glasses off. I don't even need to. I'm just looking at myself in this camera. Oh. Another thing. Freaking fruit. I'm telling you. This is what I started the video about. Eat the dang food if it tastes good and it's healthy. Eat it all every day, all the time. And yeah, eat some dang food. And right now I'm switching my, I'll talk about sleep for a lot. I was talking about digestion, right? You have low thyroid function, and you have poor basically motility in your stomach, right? Things are not emptying properly. Things are spending too much time in the stomach. Your gut is permeable, then it releases endotoxin, you have more serotonin, you have more estrogen. When you have more estrogen, that binds to the liver. Then when the liver function is reduced, then, when liver function is reduced via estrogen, then you can't convert T4 to T3. And that's an issue because probably at least 70% of T4, which is created, thyroxine, which is created, okay, it has to be converted to T3, okay? Like what I take, that's really helpful. And T3, thyrine, liothyronine, okay, that's really important. And you need that, and that works in every cell of your body. And that's why I'm talking about thyroid function. Like, oh, what's the big deal about it? Well, it's in every single cell of your body, and it really helps stimulate like for men, it helps stimulate the testicles to create testosterone. So even if testosterone maybe is 400 or 500 and thyroid function is not ideal, if you bring up thyroid, testosterone for a lot of people will go up from what it was, 1.5 to 2 times. So if you're at 400, it might go to 600 to 800 naturally, and then from there, okay, you're rocking. So cool thing about that. But yeah, your stomach's permeable, you get those estrogen issues in the liver, and interesting what habits we pick up too, is like humans. I'm so used to pushing up my glasses sometimes because they'll slide down. I think the nose bridge is a little too big, and I do that when I just don't have them on, which is funny. But yeah, caffeine, also another thing that's really helpful. These are all things I'll talk about, but it's easier just to share on a video, so that's why I'm just figured I'd record it. Had the inspiration in mind, going to a grocery shop. So coffee or caffeine, excuse me. Once in a while, a little bit of herbs will help you. But caffeine, okay. Oh man, I'm switching my sleep routine. So I was, before I talk about caffeine, I guess I'll talk about my current sleep routine, because I'm just fully transitioning sleep routine. Before, I was staying up pretty late and then sleeping longer. And that was just my routine. So I would just be, working with clients, and I'd be working, whatever, like, who knows, whatever, like noon to like midnight or something like that, like some weird ass schedule. And then work out sometime. But that's basically what I was doing. And now, instead of going to bed, either way, instead of going to bed at like 2 or 3 a.m., now I'm switching it to going to bed at, probably like hopefully like 10. That's gonna be the battle. But in order to do this, I had to just power through an all-nighter. Okay, so typically instead of going to bed at 3 a.m., I just didn't go to bed. And from there, there's other supplements that can be helpful for, wakefulness promoting abilities. So I don't know how YouTube is if I talk about different medicines, but right, other than thyroid, there's other medicines out there that can help with staying awake. And that helped. So stay awake, right? Stay awake for a night, do the whole next day, and then go to bed at a normal time, and then you're good to go. And you just kind of like change time zones. And that would be my strategy if you're really a late night person and you're trying to improve and go to wake up in the morning again. I've done this actually before. I've done it a few times, and it's pretty helpful. So, and if you wanted to go to all-nighter, if you wanted to become an all-nighter, you do it through one day. You gotta suffer through one day. This was how it was like when I was firefighting. We'd go somewhere, switch night shift. You'd power through the first night shift, then you sleep, and then the second one, you're like, okay, this is not like you get in that sleeping routine. You can go to bed. So you can honestly switch your sleeping routine if you just nuke one day. You gotta just accept it. You know, a lot of people talk about creatine, and 20 grams of creatine helps your freaking brain. Well, if there's one day to do the 20 grams of creatine, it'd be the day where you're gonna send in all-nighter and flip your sleep routine. But if you flip it properly to whatever time you want to flip it to, so if you want to wake up at 6 a.m., you know, then you just you pull an all-nighter, right? And then you wait until probably like 9 or 10 p.m. and then you go to bed, you sleep your 8 or 9 hours, you wake up at 6 a.m., okay? And now you just do the same thing. Because that like resets, I don't know, your fucking sleep. It works. So I would recommend it. Try it out. If you think it's bullshit, try it. Of course, fruit. Pineapple. Pineapple's a, I got a little freaking kernel. But pineapple is pretty dang good. It's a little fibrous, not too much, but I was actually just talking to some of my cousins, and they're saying like, oh, what is it? It has some enzyme, and I was like, yeah, it's bromelain. So bromelain's in pineapple, and that's a digestive enzyme that can help with SIBO slightly. So that's like that's something I'll include. I have like mini, I don't know, say like somebody who's trying to lose weight, but it's not an ideal. They're not in like, you know, their shit's not destroyed. Like they can still, their metabolism still works maybe, but we want to improve it. And that pineapple would be helpful. It can reduce any of that kind of like SIBO-like symptoms. I'll have people rate digestion 1 to 10 every week, and if I see, you know, 5 or 6, I'm like, hey, what the fuck's going on? Walk me through how many times you're going to the bathroom. Is it floating? What does it look like? What the fuck's going on? And then from there, we'll try things out, whether through food or through talking to doctors, get medications, or get blood work and then get medications, because there's different medications that can help too. Thyroid specifically can be helpful for improving that, along with antibiotics. You know, foods, cooked mushrooms, raw carrots are both pretty helpful as foods. You know, raw carrots can help detoxify the liver. That's going to help with the estrogen, reducing the estrogen, and then improving the conversion of T4 to T3. So that would be, of course, it's also really helpful if you do like the raw carrot salad, the red Pete style. You cut off both ends of the carrot, and then you peel it, and then from there, obviously you peel off the skin of the carrot into the garbage can or your compost, whatever you're doing, but then you peel it all in there, boom, without the skin, and then you got like those long fibers, and then a little bit of white vinegar, or you can do olive oil, or coconut oil. So I would say coconut oil more often is going to be better, but olive oil once in a while. So you can do that. Cooked mushrooms for 2 to 3 hours. Garitine, you want to get rid of that carcinogen within the mushrooms. So boil those off for 2 to 3 hours. I get the organic white button mushrooms, and those are pretty good. Wash them, slice them up, and then boil them for 2 to 3 hours. Drain them out, and then dice them, and good to go on those. They're pretty solid. They cook down a lot. So those should help for digestion. Cascara can also be helpful. That's from Italy. It's like an aged tree bark, and it helps pull basically a kind of like drier stomach that's moving slow. It kind of helps just freaking bind it together and improves like almost like, I almost explain it as like gives a snowball effect to the stomach. It actually helps collect like throughout the way when you have a slow stomach, because you have low thyroid. When you have low thyroid, you don't have as much sugar, you don't have as much really good quality glycogen and ATP, so then your stomach's muscle within it, like, you know, the muscle actually stimulates the food to move throughout the intestine. And when you don't have enough of this glucose, your muscle doesn't fire as effectively, it doesn't fire as often, and then digestion slows down. And then, of course, like I mentioned, the endotoxin then starts leaking out of the intestine when this all slows down, because it's supposed to be getting out of the body. You're already supposed to have freaking taken a dump, and it's been in there for 2 or 3 extra days, and then it causes other issues. And then you go to the doctor, and they tell you that, oh, okay, well, yeah, you do have whatever XYZ issue, and the issue is probably from, it's probably from more serotonin, it's probably from more estrogen, it's probably from lower thyroid function. Namely, like cholesterol would be one. Like, obviously, if cholesterol is high, if you understand the framework of thyroid, you would realize that that person quite possibly could have low thyroid function. You'd also notice if somebody has a heart rate that's low or temperature would be low. That would be really incredibly important, and this would also be incredibly important for skin conditions, for cancers, for many things within health. It is really important to understand the function of the thyroid. A lot of people actually with heart issues too, thyroid will be a common denominator, and then frequent colds, you know, that's another thing that I'll see with people. So some things to just keep in mind, and why certain hormones are important. This has been an interesting video. I've never recorded one like this. It's like a solo podcast. Which is fun. This is basically explaining what I do, like when I hang out with friends or people on calls. So it's good to share it to more people. So hopefully it helps you if you're watching. Some other things. I quite possibly could be it. Well, eat sweets often, or a lot of ice cream, sorbet, yogurt, milk, honey. Eat tasty food, man. All these foods taste good. You improve thyroid function. It's pretty fun. Like, I eat a lot of food. Like I said, 4,000 plus calories a day, and that's like a big drop off for me, and a lot less food. So obviously I have a lot less food in my stomach, so I'm just have less food volume. So not all the weight I lost are just fat right away. And some obviously from 900 to 1,000 carbs to 700 or 650 is still a decrease in muscle glycogen probably. Obviously I was overfilling them, hence the weight gain, but now I'm bringing it back to, you know, probably an area that I was just maintaining 230. I ate this when I was 230, when I was 228. So I had to increase to 6,000 to 8,000 to increase weight while lifting and pushing intensity for the first time probably since September. So I was like, all right, if it's gonna be the first time pushing intense weightlifting in 5 months, yeah, I should probably have extra food in the system, because the main stress reaction I had for the first 1 to 2 months on thyroid hormone was cortisol and adrenaline. I started taking it in probably November, and that was just like fucking me up for a little bit. Like, it just wasn't hitting the right way. I felt like, okay, it's working, thyroid's working, but I was only at maybe whatever, like 25, 30 micrograms of T3 throughout the day, and maybe like I always do a 1 to 2 ratio. So when I started, whatever, it was like 25 to 50, T3, T4, whatever, 35 to 70, etc., etc. So now I'm higher, I'm like 61, 20. But when I was going up initially, it was fucking with me. Like, it was just not terribly, but I just could feel the cortisol, adrenaline still. I would still get a little bit of cold hands, cold feet. When my thyroid was bad, I had cold hands, cold feet all the time. My feet were fucking frozen. Oh my gosh, all the time. Terrible. So hands would be cold, nose, all that stuff. Not fun, man. So once approved that, then, you know, just would, that was the main thing. That was one of the main things. Cold intolerance, no bueno, I'll tell you that. Typically, I track food on chronometer. So some people do meal plans, some people chronometer. I think chronometer is really good, or chronometer, whatever the fuck you say it. I think it's good because you put in what you eat. If you're eating all the right foods, it's great. If you don't know what foods to eat, or you consistently fuck off, then I think having a meal plan is probably, to be in a deficit, is good. I think being in a deficit, you know, you don't wanna just do, once you're in it and you're like good to go, you probably wanna lose at least a pound a week. So if you keep kind of messing up, then having somebody who's like, hey, this is what you do, that'd probably be helpful. But chronometer, you can still do that with a coach, obviously, or you can just do that yourself. But chronometer is what I do, and it's chill. And you'll input your food. Why I thought of this is because right now I was like, oh, I'm not gonna be able to track this, but I was like, it's okay, because like today, whatever, soft family, had 4 eggs probably, and a bunch of fruit, had an Irish, Irish coffee, whatever that is. Yeah, Irish coffee, yeah, like the Bailey, or it was like whiskey and something else, Irish, I don't know, it was good. Whiskey with coffee, and probably some cream and some sugar, tasty. So I had one like little glass of that, and then the 4 eggs, fruit. I don't think I had anything else either. Yeah. So yeah, coffee before. At home, actually, I had oat bran, 80 grams of that, like 200 grams of Greek yogurt, 0%, probably 150 grams of 2% cottage cheese, 30 grams of maple syrup, 150 grams of blueberries, and then I think like 20 ounces of coffee, 10 ounces of 1% milk for the calcium. You know, want to get fucking spam calcium to reduce parathyroid hormone. That's another thing. I was just talking to a family member who had issues with their thyroid. They have tumors in their parathyroid, which you have, I think you have 4 parathyroid like sub glands on your actually thyroid. So we want to keep those low. You know, that's something we don't want to have a lot of we don't want to have high parathyroid hormone, PTH. no bueno. When you have high parathyroid hormone, there seems to be, I think, in a relation with cortisol and what it does. And I need to probably study that even more. But I do know that utilizing calcium is extremely beneficial when we want to reduce that. So typically, parathyroid hormone, I guess how I view it, right, is something I'll study a lot of these doctors, right? I try to learn a lot from them. And then, okay, how do we apply this to people right now, right? They're doing studies, but what if somebody's not in a study? Well, then they have to read all these doctors' reports and figure it the fuck out. Or, hey, I can help you. And that's, I guess that's how I started doing this as a coach, which is like, I can help. And then I was like, okay, if I'm helping full time, then I gotta like have it like be a business, and then I just turn it into a business. So that's what it is. And it's like, it's fun. But yeah, either way, I'm gonna freaking get some food here. The food is coming down. And why I found this felt good to start the cut is because probably for the last like few months, I finally felt healthy when my thyroid was really an issue for probably since I was honestly young, since adolescence, with severe growth, growing pains and other symptoms throughout kind of my upbringing, digestive issues, skin issues, chest pain issues, things of that sort, constant colds, infections, chronic fatigue, all those things that were really indicative of poor thyroid function. So that's kind of how I got disavowed from, I guess, the current medical system. Is I had all of the, knowing what I know now, I would have diagnosed myself in a fucking minute, you know. And I'm not a doctor, but I'm like, okay, these are all based on everything I know. Like, that's you. So talk to your doctor and ask for some tests to prove that's you, because that's you based on all the symptoms and everything you told me. That's what it is. So that's what I'll try to help people with. You know, that's something I've studied a lot and learned a lot about. If it's not that, fat loss, you know, digestion, sleep, those are all things I super focus on. So I typically, if anyone comes to me, like, you know, whatever, digestion 4 out of 5, or sleep is 4 out of 5 out of 10, want to get that up 9 to 10, you know, 8 minimum, really want to get that higher. And there's a lot of different things you can do. You know, you can do meditation, you can do prayer, journaling, you can do red light, you can do blue light glasses, you can do warm shower before bed, you can do Epsom salt before bed, you can do baking soda after meals, you can do cascara to try to, like, have constant bowel movements throughout the day so you don't feel bloated when you're going to bed, because if you feel bloated when you're going to bed, it's a terrible feeling. I don't think I sleep nearly as well when my digestion's poor. My sleep is terrible. I don't recover nearly as well. So when you typically will improve digestion, you'll realize sleep quality is way better, because you're not all like fucking just feeling uncomfortable as hell, and probably have more resources in the body. I don't know, like getting fucking used up in the stomach. Like there's more, I don't know, you feel the issues, even though it has less energy. That's actually inherently the issue of poor digestion. What it seems like from the bioenergetic point of view is it's low energy in the digestive tract. So either way, I gotta go shopping. So hope that was helpful. Drink your freaking coffee. I forgot to talk about it. Causes lipolysis, helps burn fat. You want to use coffee, you want to use aspirin, you want to use thyroid. If you're trying to lose body fat, obviously vitamin D helps. Vitamin E can be helpful against the PUFAs. You know, they'll talk about DNP, that's an uncoupling agent. That's kind of cool. It seems cool. I've seen Georgie Dinkoff talk about that. I've never used it, but yeah, it definitely seems interesting. I guess they use it in like cancer studies now too. So there's definitely some fringe stuff that I like to study. Haven't really done a lot of it, but I'll definitely look into it. But I don't typically, well, if I haven't done something, I'm not gonna be like, hey, you know, go talk to your doctor about something. But nutrition, we're fucking, that we'll get dialed in 100%. The best I know that I've heard from any single person for thyroid function. So peace.